Welcome back to The Explainer. Let's just jump right in today because we are heading to the kingdom of Noraya. Picture marble palaces, blooming jasmine, the whole shebang. But beneath all that gorgeous scenery lies a genuinely profound story about pride, family ties, and the incredibly hard road to humility. So right at the center of this story is Princess Aaliya. Now, she was undeniably beautiful, but man, that beauty definitely did not soften her tongue. She's essentially the ultimate example of royal privilege totally gone wrong. I mean, Aaliya routinely mocked her younger siblings, ignored her parents, and treated her tutors like they were an absolute nuisance. Honestly, if there was a gold medal for royal tantrums, she would have taken it home effortlessly. She genuinely believed her crown just gave her a free pass to be cruel, and because of that, she was slowly alienating literally everyone around her.
Now, you might be wondering, how did her parents deal with this absolute wall of arrogance? Well, they had two completely different coping mechanisms. Her mother, the queen, would sigh with these gentle, persistent warnings, always reminding her that kindness begins at home. But Alia, she'd just brush it off, acting like a princess shouldn't have to listen to life lessons like a child. Her father, the king, on the other hand, his reaction was devastating in its own way. He simply gave up. He just stopped arguing. His silence became his answer, and you could feel the once warm palace growing cold and quiet everywhere Alia walked.
Okay, every good story needs a catalyst, right? The spark that changes everything here happens when Alia's youngest brother, the little prince, falls terribly ill. And we're not talking about a normal fever. The royal physicians are completely baffled. No medicine seems to work. Panic naturally sweeps through the entire palace. But where is Alia during this huge family crisis? She stays completely uninterested, locked away in her room, entirely untouched by the fear that's gripping the rest of her family. And that brings us to the first real twist of our narrative. Picture this, it's night. Alia is in her room, and the palace lanterns start eerily flickering out one by one, not from the wind, but as if something unseen is just moving through the corridors. In the darkness, there's a soft knock at her door. It's her grandmother. And this is a huge deal, because her grandmother is literally the only person in the entire kingdom that Alia still has even a shred of respect for. Now, her grandmother doesn't barge in, yelling or lecturing. Actually, scratch that, she's perfectly calm. She sits down and shares this incredibly profound warning from the Quran. She recites a verse from Surah Al-Isra, reminding Alia that divine commands are crystal clear. We are required to use gentle words and show absolute humility toward our parents. Harshness and disrespect, they aren't just minor character flaws. They're direct violations of a divine standard. When Alia tries to just brush this off, claiming that words don't really change anything, her grandmother doesn't take the bait. She actually softens her voice even more. Drawing on wisdom from Surah Luqman, she emphasizes that showing gratitude and respecting family isn't about weakness. It's not about submitting to another human being. It is direct obedience to the Creator. Cutting those family ties is a massive, grave matter. So after her grandmother leaves, Alia's room stays dark just a little bit longer than the rest of the palace. It's kind of a physical reflection of how lost she really is. But the universe is definitely not done sending her messages. The next morning, twist number 2 arrives. Alia's royal tutor walks in. And unlike the servants or even her parents, this guy is completely unafraid of her royal status. He just places a small book on her table, refusing to argue but absolutely insisting on delivering his message. He leaves her with a powerful verse from Surah An-Nisa, and he breaks it down so calmly. He tells her, look, disrespect isn't just bad manners. It is a breaking of what Allah ordered to be joined. This is huge. It frames family unity not as some polite social suggestion, but as a divine architecture. You simply cannot sever those ties without completely destabilizing your own foundation. Naturally, Alia tries to scoff and dismiss him just like she does everyone else. But she can't quite shake it. You know that feeling? That strange, creeping unease? Later that day, the young prince's condition suddenly takes a nosedive. He calls her name just once and then falls totally unconscious. Confronted with the very real, terrifying fragility of her brother's life, Alia feels this sudden crack in her pride. Reality is finally piercing that armor. Listen to how deliberately these warnings are escalating. First, it was this gentle appeal to love and divine wisdom through her grandmother, then an appeal to intellect and hard truth through her tutor. And finally, because she still refused to listen while awake, the warnings infiltrate the only place left, her own subconscious. That night, she falls into this incredibly heavy sleep, and we hit twist number 3, the dream of silence. And wow, this is a nightmare. She finds herself wandering through an empty version of her own palace.
No servants, no siblings laughing. Her parents aren't calling her name. It is entirely, suffocatingly silent. She runs through the halls, desperately calling out for anyone, but there is absolutely zero answer. As she's stumbling through this nightmare, she looks into these mirrors lining the corridor. But they aren't reflecting a powerful princess. They reflect the chilling psychological reality of her arrogance. In the first one, she is utterly alone. In the second, she's completely ignored. And in the third, she is weeping while people walk right past her, totally indifferent. It's a terrifying preview of the future she's actively building for herself.
All of a sudden, a heavy voice, not loud, but possessing this immense, crushing gravity, just fills the empty hall. It echoes the exact lessons she was taught while awake. Do not cut what Allah has ordered to be connected. The weight of this final warning is just too much to bear, and Aaliya wakes up in her bed, literally gasping for air. The message has finally landed.
The real turning point hits the very next morning, and it is absolute chaos. The young prince has worsened so much that the doctors have basically given up hope. Stripped of all her arrogance by that nightmare, Aaliya drops the royal facade entirely. She rushes to her mother, grabs her hand, and with a shaking voice admits she doesn't know what to do. Her grandmother steps forward and softly says, "Now you are listening." And Aaliya just breaks down, finally admitting the core of her failure. She really thought she was above the rules.
And this right here is where we see a massive transformation. Aaliya goes to her brother's room, sits beside him, and for the first time in the entire story, she is completely silent. But this isn't that toxic, dismissive silence from before. This is genuine humility. She sits there, realizing the heavy truth of the verses she had ignored, and quietly whispers an apology. "Oh Allah, I was wrong." Then we get the final twist. That night, the prince's fever miraculously breaks. Just a little bit. It's not some instant magical cure, but it's enough for the desperate physicians to notice a change. When the very confused king asks what happened, the youngest servant quietly points out the only thing that was different that night. Princess Aaliya stayed by his side. She didn't leave.
Completely transformed, Aaliya goes to her parents. Her voice is steady now, but deeply, deeply humble. She promises never to speak to them harshly again, telling them she wants to do better, not for pride or the throne, but out of pure obedience to divine command. Her father, the king, who, remember, had totally given up on her, has tears in his eyes, and he accepts her back, not with some grand, dramatic speech, but with this incredibly moving, simple line. Then start by being part of this family again. Now, to be clear, Aaliya didn't magically become perfect overnight. She still struggled, just like the rest of us do. But she had internalized this absolutely vital lesson. True respect isn't tied to royal status or hierarchy. It is fundamentally about obedience to the Creator and showing mercy within your own family. Because of that realization, the warmth slowly started creeping back into the palace, all because one heart finally changed. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to really reflect on. It's so easy to point fingers at an arrogant princess in a story, but look at your own life for a second. Look at your own family ties. Are you cutting what should be connected? If your home grew silent today, just like the palace in Aaliya's nightmare, what would it take from you? What apology, what shift in behavior to bring that warmth back? Keep that question with you. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.